Hello and welcome to our guide on the Ukrainian alphabet. If you're watching this video, you're either learning Ukrainian, thinking about learning Ukrainian, or maybe you just want to know how to read the Cyrillic script. In this video, I will teach you the Ukrainian alphabet letter by letter, and we will go over some exercises to help you apply the skills you have learned. We will go over the various letters more than once, and at times it may seem repetitive. This is not an accident, but intentional, because repetition is key when learning literally anything. I suggest that you repeat out loud everything I say, as this will help you with proper pronunciation. I would also like to point out that I will not show you the letters of the Ukrainian alphabet in alphabetical order. Instead, I have broken down the alphabet into 6 distinct letter groups to make it as easy as possible for you to learn and memorize the Ukrainian alphabet. Although it is certainly not required to do so, I strongly suggest that you use our exercise book to follow along. The first set of letters will appear strikingly familiar to you. The letters in this particular group bear a strong resemblance to those you already know from the English alphabet, and as you will soon discover, they almost sound the same too. Let's go over each letter. A, E, I, K, M, O, T. Let's do that again. Make sure you pronounce them on your own. A, E, I, K, M, O, T. Great job! Now that you know how to pronounce these letters, let's look at some words that incorporate them. Can you guess what this word means? Can you pronounce it? Mama. As you may have already guessed, mama is Ukrainian for mom. Mama. This is a word that is frequently used together with mama. Tato. Tato means dad. So, if you wanted to say mom and dad in Ukrainian, you would say mama I tato. Tato. What about this word? Can you pronounce it? Cacao. Cacao is the Ukrainian word for cocoa or hot chocolate. Cacao. Now try to pronounce this word. Kit. Kit is a companion many people have in their households. A cat. Kit. Let's take a look at one more word. Try to pronounce it. Kometa. Kometa is Ukrainian for comet. Kometa. We have learned our first group of letters, but before we move on to the next set, let's quickly review what we have learned. I want you to repeat after me as I go over each letter one more time. A, E, I, K, M, O, T. Good job, and congratulations on mastering your first letter group of the Ukrainian alphabet. I would say that you are ready to move on to the next set. This set of letters may also look familiar to you. You know some of these letters from the English alphabet, and others look kind of similar, but they have a twist to them. But beware, they may look familiar, but they have completely different sounds. So, let's go over them. The first letter of this group looks identical to the English letter C. However, in Ukrainian, this letter is not a C, but an S. S. The next letter looks identical to the English letter P, but in Ukrainian, this is an R. R. Moving on to the next one. This letter looks like a backwards N. In Ukrainian, this letter is pronounced Y. Y. Next up, we have what looks like an H, but this letter is actually an N. N. The next letter looks exactly like a B, but by now you probably already know that this is not actually a B. In Ukrainian, this is the letter V. V. And lastly, we have a letter that you may remember from math class. This is the letter P, and it looks a lot like pie. P. Before we start looking at some words, let's go over these letters one more time. S. R. Y. N. V. P. Very nice. It's time to look at some words that incorporate these letters. Here's our first word of this letter group. Let's spell it letter by letter. P. R. Y. V. I. T. Привіт. Привіт means hello in Ukrainian. Привіт. R. E. S. T. O. R. A. N. Ресторан. Can you guess what this word means? Ресторан means restaurant. Ресторан. Next up, we have a very easy word. A. M. E. R. Y. K. A. America. This word, of course, means America. America. Moving on to the next one. Let's spell this word letter by letter. S. E. K. Sikh. Sikh is the Ukrainian word for Jews. Sikh. The last word in this group is teatr. Teatr means theater in Ukrainian. T, E, A, T, R. Teatr. Great job. Let's take one last look at the group of letters we have just covered. S, R, Y, N, V, P. Let's also take a moment to review the letters from the previous group. A, E, I, K, M, O, T. Amazing job. Feel free to review these two-letter groups if you are still unconfident. Otherwise, let's move on to the next set of letters. This is the third set of letters, and now we begin to see some bizarre letters that may seem quite difficult. But don't worry, we will go over them one by one. The first letter in this group looks like the number 3. It is actually the equivalent of the English letter Z or Z. It is pronounced as Z. Z. The next letter doesn't really look like anything we have in the English alphabet. This letter is the equivalent of the English letter L. It is pronounced as L. L. The next letter looks like the I from the previous letter group, but this one has a little mark on top of it. This letter is pronounced as Yot. Yot. Next up, we have a very easy letter. It looks like an English Y, but in Ukrainian, this is the letter U. It is the equivalent of the English U. U. And for the last letter of this group, we have the letter D. This letter looks somewhat similar to an English A, but please do not get them confused. Again, this is the letter D, and it is the equivalent of the English D. D. Before we look at some words that contain these letters, let's quickly go over them one more time. Z, L, Yot, U, D. Good job. Now that you know how to pronounce these letters, let's look at some words that incorporate them. Let's spell this word letter by letter. M, I, Yot, me. Me is how you say my in Ukrainian. For example, you can say mi kit, which means my cat. Me. Again, let's go over each letter in this word. R, A, D, I, O, radio. You have probably recognized this word already and know that it means radio. Radio. S, T, U, D. Ä, N, Tä, student. This word means student in Ukrainian. Student. Next up, we have a very easy word. P, L, A, N, plan. Can you guess what it means? If you said plan, then you are correct. Plan. And now we have reached the final word of this letter group. Z, I, M, A, Zima. This word means winter in Ukrainian. Zima. Well done. We have just completed the third group of letters of the Ukrainian alphabet. Before we move on, let's review them one more time. Z, L, J, U, D. Great job. For the sake of repetition, let's go over the other two letter groups as well. S, R, I, N, V, P, A, E, I, K, M, O, T. Amazing job. At this point, we have looked at 3 letter groups of the Ukrainian alphabet, and we are now halfway done. Let's move on to the next group of letters. This is the 4th set of letters, and you may be thinking that things are getting quite complicated, but don't worry, we will take it one letter at a time. The first letter in this group looks kind of like the number 6, and it is the equivalent of the English letter B. It is pronounced as ba. Make sure to repeat out loud after me. Ba. The next letter looks like an O with a vertical line going through it. This is the letter F, and it is the equivalent of the English letter F. F. Next up, we have a letter that looks very familiar. In English, this would be the letter X, but in Ukrainian, it is H. Think of it as a K and an H put together. H. Next, we have a letter that kind of looks like a 10. This letter makes the U sound, like the word you in English. U. The next letter is quite interesting. This is called the soft sign, and lucky for you, it does not have a sound. The purpose of the soft sign is to soften the previous letter. For example, if the soft sign comes after the letter N, the sound of the letter turns from N to N. Next up, we have the apostrophe, which is also quite interesting. It also does not have a sound on its own. Its purpose is to harden the previous letter. For the purpose of this video, We will not go into any more detail on how the soft sign or the apostrophe is used, as they do not have a sound. As a matter of fact, the apostrophe is not even considered a letter, but a punctuation mark. Just know that you may see it in some words here and there. All right, now let's quickly go over the letters one more time. B, F, H, U. And the last two are the soft sign and the apostrophe, which do not have a sound. Good job. Now that you know how to pronounce these letters, let's look at some words that incorporate them. Let's spell this word letter by letter. V, H, I, D, Vchid. This word means entrance in Ukrainian. Vchid. Next up is something many people around the world enjoy playing or watching. Let's spell it. F, U, T, B, O, L. Football. This word means soccer or football. Football. The next word is pronounced telephone, and it means, you guessed it, telephone. T, E, L, E, F, O, N. Telephone. And last but not least, we have this intimidating word right here. K, O, M, P, U, T, E, R. Computer. This is how you say computer in Ukrainian. Computer. Let's review the letters of this group one more time so we can move on to the next one. B, F, H, U. And the last two are the soft sign and the apostrophe, which do not have a sound. And for the sake of repetition, let's go over the other three letter groups as well. Z, L, J, U, D, S, R, I, N, V, P, A, E, I, K, M, O, T. Perfect. You are doing great. We only have 2 letter groups left. This is the 5th set of letters. The letters in this group have similar sounds, so it is important that you pay close attention and repeat out loud after me. The first letter in this group looks kind of like a spider or a bug, and it is pronounced as je. Je. The next letter looks kind of like a U, but with a tail on it. This is the letter tse, and it is the equivalent of putting together the letters T and S in English, like the word tsar. Tse. The next letter looks somewhat similar to the English Y, but it sounds completely different. This is the Ukrainian letter cha. Think of it as an English C and H put together, like in the word checkpoint. Cha. Next up, we have what looks like a W, but in Ukrainian, this is a sha. It's basically like the sh in the English word shadow. Sha. The next letter not only looks similar to sha, but it also sounds similar. This letter is pronounced shcha. Shcha. Let's take another look at all of the letters in this group. Make an effort to pronounce them on your own. Je. Tse. Cha. Sha. Shcha. Now, let's practice these letters some more by looking at words that incorporate them. Let's spell this word letter by letter. Cha. A. S. Chas. Chas means time in Ukrainian. Chas. Next up, we have the Ukrainian word for school. Let's spell this word letter by letter. Sha. Ka. O. L. A. Школа. Школа. Next up, we have the Ukrainian word for woman. Try to spell this word letter by letter. Je. E. N. Ka. A. Жінка. Жінка. This is a very easy yet very important word. Що. Що means what in Ukrainian. Що. The next word is also very simple. This is the word tse, and it means this. Tse. If we combine the words що and tse, we get the question що це, which means what is this? In my opinion, this is one of the most useful phrases for someone who learns Ukrainian, because now you can literally point at anything and ask що це. Great job. Before we move on to the final set of letters, let's review all of the letters we have covered so far. Je. Tse. Cha. Sha. Shcha. Be. F. Ha. U. And the last two are the soft sign and the apostrophe, which do not have a sound. Z, L, J, U, D, S, R, I, N, V, P, A, E, I, K, M, O, T. Good job on making it this far. Let's finish strong and take a look at the final set of letters. This is the sixth and final set of letters of the Ukrainian alphabet. As always, make sure to repeat out loud after me. It is very important that you do that. The first letter in this group looks like an R, but this is actually the letter G. It is the equivalent of the English H. G. The next letter looks almost identical, but as you can see, this one has a little tail on top. This is the letter G, and it is the equivalent of the English G. I do want to point out that this is somewhat of a rare letter, and you probably won't encounter it often. G. The next letter looks somewhat similar to the English I, but instead of one dot, it has two dots on top. This is the Ukrainian letter Y. Y. Next up, we have what looks like a euro sign, but that's actually the letter Y. Y. And finally, we have reached the very last letter of the Ukrainian alphabet, and that's the letter Ya. By itself, this letter is also the word for I. So if you want to introduce yourself, you can simply say Ya and then your name. For example, Ya Christopher. Ya. Let's go over these letters one more time. He. Ge. Yi. Ye. Ya. And now, let's look at some words that incorporate these letters. This word means everything to Ukrainians. Let's spell it letter by letter. U. K. R. A. Y. N. A. Ukraina. This is how you say Ukraine in Ukrainian. Ukraina. This is the Ukrainian word for snow. S. N. E. Г. Сніг. Next up, we have a word that contains the rare G letter. Let's spell this word letter by letter. G. U. D. Z. I. K. Gudzik. This is the word for button in Ukrainian, like the button on a suit. Gudzik. Ye. V. R. O. P. A. Europa. I think an explanation is not necessary here. Europa means Europe in Ukrainian. Europa. And here we have our last word. Try to spell this word letter by letter. Ya. B. L. U. K. O. Яблуко. Яблуко is Ukrainian for apple. Яблуко. You did a wonderful job. Let's repeat these letters one more time. He. Ge. Yi. Ye. Ya. Well done. It is now time for our final exercise. We are going to review the entire Ukrainian alphabet in alphabetical order. A. B. V. H. G. D. E. Ye. Ž. Z. I. I. Y. J. K. L. M. N. O. P. R. S. T. U. F. H. C. Ç. Ş. Şça. Soft sign. U. Ya. I would like to congratulate you on completing this guide to the Ukrainian alphabet. At this point, you should be able to read and pronounce every single letter of the Ukrainian alphabet, and you should be able to read and pronounce basic Ukrainian words. Congratulations on a job well done. If you enjoyed this guide, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I also recommend that you save this video to your favorites so you can easily find it again later on for reference or for sharing it with your friends. I would also like to bring your attention to our Ukrainian phrase book. This book contains more than 1,000 of essential Ukrainian phrases and vocabulary terms. It is an invaluable resource for someone who is interested in learning the Ukrainian language. You can obtain a copy by following the link in the description. Again, thank you for watching and Slava Ukraini!